welcome to all of you and a heartfelt namaste. I, Anuradha, would like to thank all of you for liking and watching my Spotify and YouTube channels and writing in your suggestions and your comments. Today we are going to talk about Ketu in the 8th house. Ketu is a planet that gives one isolation. Ketu is a planet that makes us move towards the divine. It connects us to our Devata, the Ishta Devata, the universal energy. And Ketu is a planet that gives us prosperity, albeit not as much as Rahu does. Ketu is a planet that creates an inward journey inside. These things can also be seen reflecting in the 8th house also. The 8th house is a house of isolation. That is a house where we want to move away from others, move into an inward journey. And it is a house where things happen very suddenly. Ketu takes its actions in such a manner that people are caught unawares. Ketu can also cause perversion, as the 8th house can. So when we have the Ketu placed in 8th house, let us see what Ketu can give us. First and foremost, when Ketu is placed in the 8th house, it gives a person great psychic abilities and a great gut feeling. The 8th house talks about our intuition. It talks about our abilities to foresee future. And Ketu as a planet, which is related to our past, reflects our future through the 8th house. Ketu in the 8th house also gives us an understanding of other people's psyche, because the 7th house being the house of our partners and our professional people whom we meet on a professional platform. The second from it, that is the 8th house, talks about their wealth. It also talks about their mental status. So Ketu, when it is there in the 8th house, it gives us an ability to look into other people's mind, to understand how they treat and how they work with their assets, especially money. Ketu makes one, in the 8th house, it makes one spiritually conscious because both of them reverberate to the same frequency. And in the 8th house, because it is a house where one moves very much, where one is very much in isolation, where one can be cut off from others, the inward journey is very strong because 8th house also reflects sadhana. There is a great ability of psychic, being a psychic and having a gut feeling. Ketu gives one the ability, in the 8th house especially, an ability to deal with poisons. So it could be a mental poison, it could be as a doctor, as a psychic, as a psychiatrist, one can know how to handle poison on all levels. Ketu in the 8th house makes great researchers because the 8th house is also associated with research. It gives us an innate ability to be drawn towards research, and best of all, we know what area we need to research in, and we have an uncanny ability because it is giving us the psychic powers to be drawn towards that area, towards that work, towards that particular subject, which will give us great returns. In the 8th house, Ketu does show a great turbulent life, but it also shows the one's capability to handle that turbulence and to become strong in the mind. There can be sudden changes in in the fortunes of people, and Ketu in the 8th house reflects those changes. One needs to be equipped, ready to accept change. When one does that, one is in a good place with Ketu in the 8th house. And you can also have a lot of legacies because the 8th house represents, materially it represents legacies. So a person can have a lot of legacies if Ketu is in their 8th house. We take up certain examples. P.T. Usha, great life, which was later on, but life was very turbulent. Life had come with its own set of problems. For somebody who ran bare feet on hilly terrain in her village in Kerala, because she was focused on winning and running for her country, she surpassed all that turbulent phase and she came to be known as the Queen of Indian track and field, because she put in that energy and she came to a height wherein there was a change in her entire fortune, so as to speak, and she came to a power of position. Ketu for her is also in Mula Nakshatra, which is its own nakshatra, and it is very strong. The deeper you dig, the stronger you become, the more hardworking that you are, the better its results are. Ketu in Mula Nakshatra gives very good results, provided one is willing to work in that area, because it is its own nakshatra. But that would never be belittling the kind of hard work, the kind of turbulence one goes through, and the kind of research one does. When we talk about Tiger Woods chart, we know it for a fact that he's been held responsible for many acts that he did. And I did talk about perversion with you when Ketu is in the 8th house, if it is not resonating to a great height. Here, Ketu is in the nakshatra of Sun, which is the Kritika Nakshatra, and Kritika Nakshatra also resonates to a place of, infidelity, a place where there is certain problems with the spouse, or not accepting the spouse as such, and looking around here and there. And Ketu, when it sits in the 8th house in this nakshatra, gives person to move around, to look around beyond your known and approved relationships. So as we move to the chart of Vishwanathan Anand, again, Ketu is in the 8th house, and that too in Purva Falguni Nakshatra. His luck most probably was very strong. And not that he didn't go through a lot of turbulence. Being a chess player, we can call it all that he is very intelligent. And yes, in the 8th house, it gives him psychic powers, it gives him intelligence, it gives him a lot of name and fame. But that comes after a lot of turmoil. As Vishwanathan Anand has many a times written, that there's such a lot of things going on, pressure in his mind building up just before a game, and he needs a lot of patience to handle with. He has to move from being a chess player to becoming the first grandmaster of India in the field of chess, gone through a lot of turbulence in life, but he has been able to withstand that and then got that right. So yes, turbulence was there, and the ability to handle that turbulence with grace was also seen. Being in the Purva Falguni Nakshatra, there was a lot of luck on his side also that helped him move through that phase. So Ketu in the 8th house connects you to the divine. It connects you to a lot of psychic abilities. And when, say, just in the case of Vishwanathan Anand, one needs to able to understand. Chess is a game where one needs to understand how your opponents are going to react to a play out the game 5 steps ahead, probably. So in the Purva Falguni Nakshatra, it gave him an insight to be able to gauge how his opponents are going to work out. And that psychic ability of the 8th house gave him an unnerving kind of a view into the other person's mind, which played to his benefit while playing games. So Ketu in the 8th house gives us a lot of things, provided we know how to handle its energies. Till we meet with you again,
Please
stay
hit the
safe.
bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel.